Good morning and good
Amor, como é que eu
afternoon.
ligo o som aqui? Tá sem som.
Got a little background noise from Julia there, but I think she's all set. Hello, everyone. This is good morning to those of you in Colombia, and maybe good afternoon to those of you in the United States, as well as Brazil, and certainly in Europe if you're tuning in from across the pond. I am Jim McCrary. I'm the founder and CEO of TalentoTotal. We are a U.S. international nonprofit organization with a focus on Latin America. We accelerate the careers of young professionals who identify as Afro-descendant or indigenous across Latin America and seek to provide them with opportunities to pursue an MBA in the United States or Europe, as well as an LLM in the United States or Europe, with the intent that these young professionals come back to their home countries in Brazil, Colombia, Panama, across the region to provide inspirational leadership and representation for the Afro-descendant and indigenous communities. And so I'm really excited today to invite INSEAD, one of the outstanding universities and MBA programs in the world today. I am also thrilled because I kind of am reflecting on my experience 10 years ago when I was looking at MBA programs throughout the world. And I really didn't know about INSEAD, and I'm kicking myself because I wish I did. This is a phenomenal program that is very international. As you'll learn in this webinar today, they have a touch and a reach in terms of their alumni and in terms of the program that expands across the planet. And so if you're an individual who is really looking for an international experience, I think this is a phenomenal program for you to learn more about. And don't make the same mistake that I did 10 years ago by not knowing or not applying. So this is your chance to dive in. We have some excellent alumni who are from Brazil and can provide you with a vision and an understanding of what it's like to apply to INSEAD as an international student, and also what it's like to apply to INSEAD as someone from Latin America or Brazil. And so with no further ado, I'm going to hand this off to Maria, and she's going to provide us with a presentation and an overview of the program. So if you are dialed in and tuned into this webinar now, please use the comment section on YouTube to type any questions that you may have. Our Chief of Staff, Caro, will be there to kind of monitor the stream and also let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're in Colombia, if you're in Brazil, if you're in France, if you're in the United States, drop a comment in the comment section, give us a like or a thumbs up. And also subscribe, because we'll continue to host other great institutions. And this will be a channel for you to learn more about fantastic MBA programs throughout the world, as well as law programs. So stay tuned to our channel, and I'm going to hand it off to Maria to talk more about INSEAD. And Maria, I think I'm going to wait for you to share your screen here. And as soon as you do, I will hand the microphone off to you. And while we're having Maria load this up, I'll go ahead and introduce. I don't see it yet, but I also wanted to introduce Pedro, Julia, and Hafa. They are all recent graduates from INSEAD, having finished last year, only a year ago. So they're going to be here to provide you with a little bit of insight into their experiences. And Maria, I still don't see it quite just yet.
Sorry, guys.
No worries. So I know we just you just gave it to us a few minutes ago. There we go. I think I see it coming up now, or no? That was, oh, there it is. Gotcha.
You guys see it? Okay.
Yep. But I think you just need to switch it to the screen for the presentation, and then we'll be all set.
All right. Can you see it now?
I think we have you coming in with your screen. Try adding it one more time.
Okay.
But then selecting the actual presentation. I think you selected the screen that you're currently in through StreamYard.
Okay, here we go. Sorry.
No problem.
Are we good?
Yep, we are good. All right, off to you. I'm going on mute, Maria. All yours.
Okay, very good. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Actually, this is a very special day for INSEAD today. It's Global INSEAD Day, and we are celebrating our 6th years anniversary anniversary as a school, but also this is in 1959, we celebrated our first MBA ceremony, graduation in the Château de Fontainebleau. So it's a special day, and every year we celebrate Global INSEAD Day throughout the world. So this year we are doing a digital edition, which has 24 hours nonstop of webinars. We have speakers from all over the world that will continue. So I encourage you to go to our website and check out the program. And then this is also a great opportunity to ask questions to our alumni in the panel. So what I have prepared here for today, just a brief introduction. I'm responsible for student recruitment for the Americas. And today what I've prepared is just a brief overview of the MBA program. And then that will be followed by a panel discussion with our alums, which you already met very briefly. So for those of you that are joining today, and perhaps you already know quite a bit about INSEAD, I encourage you to use the slides today as maybe possible reminders of questions you still have about the program. For those that are brand new, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So I will go through the slides very briefly. I would like to devote the majority of the time to speak with our alums so they can share their student experience and what they're doing after INSEAD. But to start out, let's talk a little bit about INSEAD and about the program. So the INSEAD is an international business school with 3 different campuses in Singapore, Fontainebleau, and Abu Dhabi. We also opened in February an innovation center in San Francisco, which it's not part of the MBA, but when they do travel tracks, there will be one of their stops as one of the options. And I wanted to give you just a little bit of information about each of the campus. So this is the Fontainebleau campus, which is right outside of Paris. It's about 45 minutes from Gare de Lyon, which is in the north of Paris. It's a small town. The Château de Fontainebleau, which is the main attraction, and then also the Forest of Fontainebleau, which is next to our campus. So if you're someone who loves the outdoors, rock climbing, hiking, jogging, it's a wonderful place for you to do outdoors activities. It's a small town, but it has quite a bit of activity because of the Château de Fontainebleau, and of course because of INSEAD. Most of our students, that when they are in Fontainebleau, they live near campus. We have some people that might live in Paris, but usually Paris is more of a weekend trip rather than commuting every day. So this is a great question to ask our alumni panel today. And then the Singapore campus is in our knowledge district. It's a great location. A few meters away, you can hop on the metro and really discover the city of Singapore. So a lot of our students, when they are in the campus, they do quite a bit of traveling in Southeast Asia because the flights when we can travel are quite affordable. So this is, again, a great question to ask our alumni panel. Both Singapore and Fontainebleau are fully integrated campus, which means same curriculum, same resources available to our students. And then the Abu Dhabi campus is more recent. Typically, if you are in the January intake, which I'll talk a little bit more, it allows you to spend period 3 in Abu Dhabi, which is 2 months. So this is a great option for those of you who are looking to learn a little bit more about the Middle East and spend some time taking classes and maybe connecting with companies in the region. We just moved to the Mariah Island about a year ago, which is a great location. So lots of places to go eat and visit the city. So I don't know if some of our alums in the panel had an opportunity to visit, but this campus started out for our executive MBA students, but it also has a lot of interest from our MBA students. So every year we have from one intake, maybe 30 students that will opt to do P3 on the Abu Dhabi campus. So just a quick overview of the portfolio of programs. Today, I'm going to talk about the MBA program, which is a one-year MBA program. But there is one here that I really wanted to tell you about, which is the MIN program, the Masters in Management. It's a new program that we started this year, and the first class is already on campus. They started in-person classes, which is a little bit of a hybrid model because of the COVID-19, but they're already in Fontainebleau since last week. So for those of you who have friends who just graduated from college, we have between 0 to 2 years of work experience, not quite ready for the MBA, but really want to start having that international career right away, this is a great opportunity. But today, as I mentioned, we'll focus on the MBA program. So a little bit overview about what the class looks like. Usually we have students in our program, the average work experience is 6 years. It doesn't mean that everybody has 6 years. Typically, we'll have a minority that has between 2 to 3 years of work experience right after their undergrad degree. The majority of the class will be between 4 and 6. And then we have another minority between 6 plus up to 11. As you can see, it's a very big class, 1,039. That number is for 2 intakes. So we have the January intake starting in January and then graduating in December. And then we have the September intake starting in September and graduating the following July. So each intake is about 500 students, lots of nationalities, as you can see. On average, this class, which is from last year, were 94 nationalities, but usually it's between 90 to 96 nationalities. So at INSEAD, everyone is truly a minority. We don't have majorities in our MBA program, so everyone has an accent. We have it's only about 20% of the class are native speakers of English. So a little overview of what the program looks like. So as I mentioned, there are 2 intakes, one in January and one in September. The main difference between the 2 intakes is that the January intake has a break in the summer. So it's July and August. So for those of you looking to do an internship, if you feel that's important for you, at INSEAD, it's not mandatory to do an internship, but if you are someone who is changing job function, industry, and regions of the world, it's probably a good idea to have a little bit of exposure in that new field. The September intake doesn't have a summer break, but it doesn't mean that you don't have breaks, of course, in between each period. So each period is 2 months, and then in between each period, there's a week off. And this is when our students, they take some time off to maybe travel a little bit, or maybe catching up on homework. But this is also a great question to ask our panelists today. So a couple things I wanted to mention. Campus exchanges are optional. So if you decide that you want to stay the entire time in Europe, you can do that. On the other hand, if you want to do be in Fontainebleau and also be in Singapore, you can. That's also another option. about 75% of our class will do more than one campus. Another option that we have 3 partnerships, 2 with US schools, Kellogg and Wharton, and then 1 with China SIBS. So if you're interested in any of those schools, maybe because you're looking to have a little bit of experience going to a school in the US, typically that's done either on P4 or P5. It's just 1 period. When you are at INSEAD, you also will see some students from these schools. We usually get quite a few from Wharton at INSEAD, so you'll be bumping into them as well. So a little more in depth into what happens in each period. So we added a P0 because, as you know, the program is quite intense. It's a year, but it's actually 10 months. So before arriving to campus, we want you to be prepared to leverage all our resources. So the moment you are admitted into our program, you will have a list of action items to complete. Some are related to your academic work, and then some are related to the career development. And then when you arrive on campus, P1 and P2, it's focusing on your core business classes. So your finance, your accounting, marketing, etc. And then starting on P3, this is when you can customize your curriculum. So at INSEAD, we don't have majors or special tracks. It's really up to you to design your own curriculum. You have about 80 electives to select from. So this is a great question to ask our panelists as well today, since they just finished. I think all 3 of them just graduated last year. So a great question to ask them how they decided what classes to take and how they customize their own curriculum. At the bottom there's a couple of resources that I wanted to mention to you that happens in parallel to the career, to the academic periods. And one is the career development journey. So when you come to INSEAD, you are paired with a career coach. That person will stay with you throughout the program. And on P1 and P2, this is the time to talk about, what types of jobs, what regions of the world, industries you want to find an opportunity after graduation. And then starting on P3, now that you have a career plan, you start attending a variety of workshops ranging from job search to salary negotiation. This is also when employers will be coming on campus and they'll do industry presentations, networking events. And then P4 and 5, this is when you're actively interviewing with employers both on campus and off campus. So great question to ask our panelists how this all worked for them. And then the next resource that I want to mention to you too is the leadership coach, which is part of the personal leadership development program. So all our students will have also a leadership coach. This is a resource we added maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And the idea is someone to help you with your team dynamics, your communication skills. INSEAD is a little bit like the United Nations. So as you can imagine, different team dynamics, different communication styles. So the coach is there to help you with that. So the way the curriculum is delivered, you'll have one-on-one with your coach, but also in small groups with your classmates. And then the curriculum is also integrated in the electives. So I mentioned that in between periods, our students do quite a bit of traveling when it's allowed, of course. Some of that traveling is traveling that they organize themselves, but we also have traveling that it's part of an elective, the travel tracks. These are some of the cities that are optional for our students to travel. It's quite short. Typically, it's 1 week. So for example, here in the US where I am based, the trip to Silicon Valley would involve you visiting several startups in the Valley, and then you'll make a stop at our Innovation Hub in San Francisco. And usually these trips are guided with either a professor who is an expert in the region, or one of my colleagues in the career development that also leads some of these trips. So great question to ask our panelists whether they had an opportunity to do some of these travel tracks. So I think some of you might already be working on the application or thinking about applying. So I just wanted to give you a little bit overview about what the admissions committee at INSEAD is looking for. So one of the first things is your academic capacity. In that area, we're going to look at your previous academic experience. So whether you have an undergrad degree, maybe you have another master's or even a PhD. We also look at your GMAT scores. Sometimes we, depending on your professional background, we'll also consider your professional background. Maybe you have a very quantitative background, so we'll consider that. And in this area, what we're looking for is, can the candidate handle the rigor of the program? Then the second area is your leadership potential. So that's going to come through a variety of ways. So some of you maybe in your professional career already have opportunities to manage a budget or a team. If you haven't had those opportunities yet, try to think about things that you're doing in your personal life that might showcase leadership potential. So for example, you might be a volunteer in a nonprofit organization where you might be part of an advisory board. You might have your own part-time startup focus on social impact, or it could be fun things. So maybe you are the soccer coach for a girls team. So all of those things tells us a little bit about your leadership potential. And then the next area is your ability to contribute. So as I mentioned earlier, you're going to join a very diverse class. It's a little bit like the United Nations. So we're looking for things to get to know you a little bit more as a person. What types of things do you do? So in the application, for instance, we'll ask you about extracurricular activities. And for some of you, you probably are thinking, oh, INSEAD doesn't want to hear about that. But let me give you an example. If you are a juggler for Cirque du Soleil, tell us about that. That's something that is unique about you. If you play the accordion, INSEAD is a super social place. So any of those things that you're bringing adds to your diversity as an individual. And the final one is your international motivation. So this comes in a variety of ways. So perhaps you already speak other foreign language. I'm sure if you're joining from Latin America, you speak Spanish and Portuguese and English. So that's part of your diversity. If you're a multicultural individual, if you're working with international clients. And in this area, it's not so much a long list of places you've been in the world, but it's talking about what you've learned from those experiences. So as we go through your application, we're looking at these 4 elements or criteria and trying to think what is unique about this candidate that it's going to add to the diversity of the class, both professionally and personally. So just a little bit about what we're looking for. This is just a long list of things that we're looking for on the application. I just want to mention it's very similar to other programs, but I wanted to mention one about the GMAT. I know some of you are in countries and cities where the GMAT centers are closed. We do accept the online version of the GMAT. I think it was last week or this week, they just came out that you can now take it twice. So for those of you who are afraid I can only take it once, and now you can take it twice. INSEAD is also being very generous with the time frame to provide the GMAT. It's not waived. So for example, yesterday we had our first deadline for the September 21 intake. If you were not able to provide your GMAT score on the deadline, you have until October 25th. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you, INSEAD offers several scholarships, which I encourage you to check them out on our website. The scholarships, some are based on merit, some are based on need. You can apply up to 5. They're all listed. They all have special criteria. We also work with several organizations, as you see on the slide. I just want to point out one that we've worked for a long time, actually 2 of them that are both founded by INSEAD alums, Prodigy and then Brain Capital. Those are also listed on the website, so please check those out if you are someone that is looking to either apply for scholarships or need additional funding. This is also a great question to ask our panelists, how did they manage this part of the program and how they were able to get funding for the program. So these are the deadlines for our 2 intakes. So currently we're recruiting for the September intake 21. We just had our first round of applications. Yesterday was the first deadline. And then sometime next year, sometime January, end of January 21, February, we'll open the application for January 22. One of the questions that I get asked here is, what's the best round to apply? For INSEAD, only apply when you believe that's the best application that you want to submit. From an admission standpoint, we have spots at every round, no need to rush. However, if you're looking to apply for scholarships, I encourage you to apply on round 1, 2, and 3. Obvious, round 1 and 2 will have more. So another way to check out our scholarships is to check their deadlines and then see which ones are aligned with the round that you want to apply. All right, I think I will stop sharing here, and then I'll hand it over to.
Okay, awesome. I think we've
Good.
I think we've gotten to the fun part where we can ask our alumni a few questions, and we've had a few that have come in from the people who are participating and the people who signed up. But I think the intent is really for a lot of the young people who are tuning in to kind of learn more about your experiences and what it's like to study in France. I'm sure that's pretty exciting, and a lot of people have that opportunity. And so the first thing I told Maria that I was going to do was visit her when the COVID-19 crisis calms down, so I can see what INSEAD looks like and explore as well. But again, I think this is just an opportunity for all of us to learn about your experiences. So if you're tuned in now, please feel free to ask questions and to gain an understanding of what the experience is like and what the experience could be like for you. So everything is on the table, whether it's GMAT, whether it's what is it like to study in France, what do you need to achieve on the TOEFL, or is it the IELTS, the IELTS, if that's one of the other tests. I know nothing about these tests, but I'm sure Pedro, Rafa, and Julia do. So I'll kind of hand it back to you, Maria, because I know you had some questions that you wanted to ask of our 3 alumni, and I'll kind of let you drive the conversation. I may chime in with a few questions of my own because I am also curious and want to know more. But with that being said, I will hand it back to you. And for all of you who are tuning in, please note that Maria speaks fluent Portuguese. I think that's her native language. So
thank you. I think I forgot to give just a quick review of who I am. I'm actually not on campus. I'm based in the U.S. in the Midwest, which today I'm looking out the window. It's very gloomy, but I am from Portugal. I've lived in the U.S. for a long time. So feel free to submit your questions in Portuguese if you want. I won't promise that I probably will reply in Portuguese, but I'll try. So very good. hopefully the overview give you a little more insight and hopefully will help frame the conversation today. So I wanted to introduce the panel. I think while I was trying to share my screen, you already had an opportunity to get a brief introduction, but I wanted to go around the gallery and maybe if you could just say who you are and why you decided to go to INSEAD. So I will start with ladies first. Julia, you want to start first?
Sure. Hello, guys. Nice to meet you, guys and girls, right? Nice to meet you. I'm Julia. I'm from Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais, in Brazil, but I've moved to São Paulo. I don't know. I've been here for almost 15 years in São Paulo. I studied in São Carlos in the UFSCar. It's a federal university there. And then I started to work at McKinsey as an intern. And there I learned about MBA. So I didn't know anything about MBA. And when I started to talk with people about MBA, I met a lot of INSEAD people. So I thought, if I need to go to an MBA, because it's kind of part of the consulting journey, I think INSEAD would be like the best fit for me. And why I decided to go, it's because I wanted a more diverse place. I didn't want to go to a place where I could find like a lot of people from the same country. I always enjoyed to travel, so I wanted to meet different cultures. I wanted to have an experience, like an intense but short experience. It was not in my plan to live a long time abroad, so I decided to take like this shortcut and then have this more intense and short experience. I wanted to meet, the same, like I wanted to meet people from all over the world, and I wanted to have also the opportunity to study in the US if I wanted, like for a short period. So when I learned about the Wharton and Kellogg possibility, was a plus for me. And also I wanted to live in Asia, and I think INSEAD is one of the best MBAs in the world. It's the only one that has a campus in Asia. So for me, it was a plus as well. So basically, I think it was more about this, like the opportunity to live in 3 different continents if I wanted, like Europe, Asia, and North America. The opportunity to be with people from all over the world, not only and then speak different languages, not only English, and this short and intense experience. I think those were the 3 main reasons that made sense.
Julia. Pedro, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Pedro. I'm from Goiânia, countryside here in Brazil. I also studied in São Carlos, close to Julia. As a civil engineer, I've never worked with engineering, but after college, I started in an investment bank boutique. So after 5 to 6 years of investment banking, I said, no, that's enough. I want to do something different for my career. So I decided to pursue an MBA to change, to learn, to know people, to have a different experience. We know that when you're working, you kind of can be consumed with all the stress and deliverables and etc. So I said, no, I want to do something different. And I was looking for, as I said, like a different and unique experience. And what caught my attention in INSEAD is definitely the diversity and how international is the school. So when I went to visit, when I talked to alumni, it was clear that the environment was different. So the vibe was really, really nice. And having the possibility to live in Asia, to discover Asia was certainly a plus. And to be honest, I didn't expect to be so nice to live in Asia. I would have spent more time there. Actually, I did after I graduated. I traveled for 2 months in Asia. It was amazing. And I think that's it. I think the students, your colleagues, they make most of your MBA experience. So I think having this open and really friendly environment is really, really nice. And I mean, you can talk, you can we have friends who started their companies together. We have friends who joined consulting. We have a really, really open environment. So I think that was a key criteria for me to apply for an MBA and to choose INSEAD. And now, just for instance, I'm becoming a consultant, so I'm pretty happy with the foreseeable future. Let's see.
Good. Thank you. Rafael, tell us about you.
Hi, Maria. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Jim, and Carol, for organizing this. I'm very excited about the future of Latin America with INSEAD. So I went to INSEAD also to pursue some sort of change in my career. Before going to INSEAD, my whole career had been in consulting. So since undergrad, actually, I started an internship with Bain & Company, worked there for 5 years in total. And I had always been very involved in social impact initiatives at Bain. And at some point, I realized that I enjoyed doing this kind of activities more than my regular job. So I thought it would be interesting to change careers a little bit. So it's quite an unusual path. We have a lot of people who leave other careers to join consulting after their MBAs, and I did kind of the opposite way. Mm-hmm. In consulting, I was exposed to MBAs very early on. It's a very common path for consultants. So I got to know people from MBAs all over. A lot of people go to MBAs in the US, and the people from INSEAD were the coolest. So that's what interested me about INSEAD. As Pedro mentioned, the vibe is different. The environment is different. Like this openness and diversity that you see on campus is very, very unique. And the fact that you can connect with so many people across the world is also very unique. Like we have friends now quite literally living all over the world. I myself am in Medellin, Colombia right now. And I feel like INSEAD really opened my mind towards having an international career and also made this viable for me. I don't think, having worked in Brazil all my career, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to go work abroad. And I feel like being at INSEAD really opened doors for me in that sense.
Good. Thank you, guys. So one of the questions I get a lot is everyone is very curious. How do you decide what campus to do? Can you talk about what strategy you use to select either Fontainebleau or Singapore? Tell me a little bit how you strategize that whole process.
I think I saw a question here asking about home campus and how to change to other campus. So when you choose your home campus, you stay there for 2 periods, and then you can choose wherever you want for the other 3 periods. So for myself, like I really wanted to have the experience in Asia. So I started there. So we all started in January, so we had 1 year. And I started in Singapore, and Rafa and Pedro, they started in Fontainebleau. So I started there because I wanted to have the Asia experience. And I also kind of followed the good weather. So I wanted to stay in the hot weather all the time. So I stayed the first 4 months of the year in Singapore. And then I moved to France when the spring or the summer started there in May, June. And then I continued there on August and September because also the weather was good. And then I went back to Singapore to graduate there because graduation, like people who start in January, they usually graduate in Singapore. So most of the people is in Singapore in the end of the year. Like our class has 500 people, so 420, I don't know. Maria, you can correct me. They are in Singapore for graduation in the end of the year. And then we do the graduation trip in Asia, where is the good weather as well, like super hot. So I think for me it was more like kind of how, I don't know, what kind of personal experience I wanted. And was a little bit different because I was coming from consulting. I was going to be back to consulting after. So like recruitment was not the main driver for me. So I think maybe for Pedro and Rafa would be different because of recruitment. So for me, it was more like personal reasons, where I wanted to be for personal reasons.
Good. What about Rafael, Pedro? What were your strategies?
My strategy was just as Julia said. I wanted to recruit either to Europe or Latin America. So for that purpose, being in Asia is a bit tough because of the time difference. So we've seen some colleagues having interviews like 2 a.m. in the morning, it's because it was the only time available, and that's not when you're sharp. So that can be tricky. So I followed the recruitment process. So I stayed if there in P1 and P2 is you recruit to your summer internship in France, and also P4, which is the recruitment period for full-time jobs, also in France. And later I went to Asia because I wanted to have the experience. So I kind of managed to do all this, puzzle. So someone has asked about that, and you can do whatever you want as long as you have the points to do so. You only have to stay in your home campus for P1 and P2. So, for example, in my case, I stayed P1, P2, France, P3, Singapore, P4, France, and P5, Singapore again. So I travel a lot. It is possible. It's a little bit exhausting, but yeah, I would do it again.
Thank you. Rafael, what did you do?
So I was in Europe from P1 to P4. One, because I wanted to have the experience of living in Europe. I had never lived abroad before INSEAD, so this was very interesting to me. And as Pedro, I was recruiting for either Latin America or Europe. So it was more interesting for me to be in Europe for the recruitment seasons, both in P3 before the summer break, and also before when you're looking for full-time jobs. And then I moved to Singapore for P5. That was much lighter in terms of academics. So I did a lot of traveling as well, and it was super fun.
Good, thank you. So I wanted for you guys to share, because we talked about how diverse we are and all the different nationalities. Can you share with us a little bit about your experience in P1 and P2 with the study groups and how that works, and maybe just take a little time to explain what it is? Who wants to go first? Julia, you want to go first? You're mute.
You're on mute.
You're mute.
I was on mute. No, I was saying maybe Pedro and Rafa can start, and then I can, because I always tend to talk more.
Okay.
You want to go?
I can start. Yeah, I can start. So the study groups are groups with which you work for your core courses during the MBA program. So you're going to be working with these people for pretty much all courses that you take during P1 and P2. And also you are part of the leadership development program that Maria described in the beginning of the presentation, and you do this together. For me, my experience with my study group was just incredible. They're my best friends, and they come from all over the world, like one from China, one from Serbia, New Zealand, and US, another American, myself from Brazil, and another from Algeria. So we represented all the continents of the world, and it was a great experience, really. These people are my best friends. They were my support system when I was doing my MBA. I was a part of their support system as well. We're very close and stay in touch. And yeah, friends for life.
Good. How did it work out for you, Pedro?
Well, for me, it was quite of an experience because you have to learn how to deal with people from different cultures and backgrounds. So you really have to exercise your communication skills, your leadership skills, because people are really diverse. Like I have in my study group, we were me from Brazil, one American from the US, one Spanish guy, one Chinese, and one guy from Belarus. So it was completely different background from each other. So we have to learn how to deal with that. And I have a couple of experiences that I can say that I learned a lot. It wasn't always easy because I have a lot of pressure. I have to do a lot of assignments, a lot of work, and everyone by the end of the day has its own agenda. Like I want to find my job, they want to find their job. So it's really hard to manage all that, and can be stressful, but it's definitely a really nice experience to learn and grow. So I have a couple of experience of that, and I mean, after all of this, let's say, day to day, like intense working days, we are now friends, and we've grown with that after that. So it's amazing, and it's really interesting how they can like put this diversity together in the same group. So you listen similar stories everywhere. So it's part of the experience, it's part of the learning experience. It's like dealing with people in such an intense and hardworking situation.
Thanks. Julia, you talk the most. Go for it.
No, for me, I think it's everything they said, like not only different countries, but different backgrounds. So I had one guy from oil and gas industry, another girl from consumer goods, and another guy from a startup. So everyone has a different way of structuring the work that we had to do. So we had conflicts, but we had also good times. We learned a lot with each other. And for me, I think you mentioned about the leadership development program, right? We had this coach, and we had sessions with this coach, I think every month or every 20 days. Some people didn't like it, but for me, it was really important. I think for my group as well, like in our last feedback session, like group session, I think some of us, we cried. We were like, thank you everyone for all the things that we could do together. We had some, like, as I said, we had some small conflicts, and it was good for us to, like, I don't know, it was a challenge for some to work with in this diverse group. I think you learned a lot. And then I think as a person, I think I grew, and now I'm more comfortable to maybe challenge people during work, or I don't know. I think it was an experience that you can apply after as well. And then the coach helped us to see the things in a different way. The coach asked questions. We discussed it, how we felt, and why we did the things that we did. So I think for me, helped it in the personal development as well. And I think for all of my group mates too.
Great.
So I think it's this diverse as well, it's diverse experience, but also helps with your personal development and all these skills and sets that you think you need for after, right?
Good. Thank you, guys. I think probably time for us to take some questions from the audience. Carol, I don't know if you're monitoring the Q&A, but if there's some questions out there that keep coming up that are the same, if we could there is a question.
Do you all see it? Yeah, I think we can throw that first one up from Cynthia, and we'll look to make sure that these questions don't overlap. Yeah. But I think this is a good one, because I couldn't even explain this. I think this might be
and so the question everybody's looking, this point system. So I think if you know about the point system, you've probably been talking to alums, but I will just say, don't worry about the point system. So I think during the panel, we talked about, I think Julie was talking about the weather, going to different campus according to the weather. And that's exactly what INSEAD is trying to avoid, because what will happen is for the January intake, everybody would want to go to Singapore. And then for the September intake, everyone will want to go to Fontainebleau in Europe. So when you arrive on campus, we give you a set of points, and it's literally to help you prioritize what's important for you. You know, is important to you on P3 to maybe go to Singapore, or do you rather have like an elective that it's very popular? So This year, please do not worry about this until you actually get admitted into the program. It is one question we ask you in the application. I believe it's the first question we ask you in the application is, what campus do you want to start, which is your home campus. If you have a strong preference, please list it. I even encourage you to use the optional essay question to highlight why you want to be in that campus. Maybe you want to be in Fontainebleau because you want to connect with employers in Europe and you want to find a job in Europe after graduation. And we have a little disclosure that says it's not guaranteed, but if you have a strong preference, please list it on the application, explain why, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. But the point system, it's only when you get to campus, and it's really to force you to make choices and prioritize. But until then, don't worry about it. Other questions?
Here's one from Jose about internships. Can you all see that one? Maria, I'll let you take it, or whoever would like to jump on this one.
So I can start, and then you guys can kind of tell me if you did one. So internships at INSEAD are not mandatory. However, if you are very keen on doing an internship, I would say try to go for the January intake, which has the summer off, July and August. And so this is a time when you can do an internship. I would say from the January intake, only about half of the students actually do an internship. At INSEAD, it's not mandatory. All industries hire outside of the internship, with the exception of investment banking. If you go into investment banking, then most of the multinational banks want to recruit from an internship. And recruiting for investment banking, it depends what regions of the world. So if you are in North America, typically it tends to be in the fall. In Europe, London typically tends to be in the winter. So if you want to find an opportunity, investment banking in Europe, that means the moment you arrive on campus, the recruiters are already there. But for other industries, it's not mandatory. So I don't know, Pedro, Rafael, Julie, if you has to do an internship or summer project, feel free to share.
Yeah, I have quite an experience with that because I try to recruit for summer, and I think this is a really good opportunity to try something new, mainly if you're pursuing a new career, changing jobs. So it's a good time for to try something new, either working on a startup or in a major firm. For example, I worked for Bain in Brazil, and I had a really nice experience. So I decided to join them as a full-time consultant afterwards. So for me, it was really good timing because I feel that I know what I'm going to face in a couple of weeks when I start working with them. So this is, it's good if you feel more comfortable with the situation. So I would strongly recommend, if you're trying to pursue a new job, do a summer internship, explore as much as you can. And I mean, you can do it all over the world. I have friends who work, I don't know, in Europe, in Asia, in Brazil. It's just find someone who wants to have you. For example, I was talking to some firms after the MBA, some startups in Peru, Israel, Italy. So I mean, it's up to you. Just go for it and find something. There's plenty of opportunity.
Anyone else? Rafael, Julia, did you guys do an internship or a summer project?
Yeah, I wanted to add a +1 to Pedro's encouragement of doing internships, especially if you're transitioning in some way in your career, if you're changing the industry, the function, or the region. It's important to use the internship as a test. So I myself was doing this transition from consulting to social impact, worked with a foundation that focuses on education in Brazil called Fundação Lehman. So it was a very important step for me to land my current job, but also to understand better how it was to work in a sector that I wanted to work after the MBA. So it helped me be more certain of my decision post MBA as well.
It's a good time to prepare for whatever comes after INSEAD. We have some friends, for example, that didn't get an internship, but they used the time to prepare themselves to study the region they wanted to work on, like to network. So it's a good break for, I mean, you can use it however you want. And it's a good time to have because INSEAD is quite intense. So having this break is really good to find your way, find your path.
But even if you're not in the January term, you can find something before or after MBA as well. A lot of people, they do projects after MBA, so it's okay if you want to start in August, and then you can just finish in July and do maybe 2 months, 3 months in a company before starting your full-time job. So there is opportunity to do it anytime you want.
Yeah, thanks.
I think the next question applies to anyone who went to a top MBA program. But this is an INSEAD show. I'll just say I took the GMAT 4 times. So if you're out there struggling, I feel your pain. And this is something that we all have to get past. I don't know if INSEAD does the GRE, so maybe you all can touch on that as well. But this is an important question for a lot of aspiring MBA candidates. How do they get past the GMAT? So understanding what many of you may have gone through, Julia, Pedro, Rafa, Maria, if you've taken it, we'd love to hear from you too. Look at you.
It was many years ago.
Yeah, I think for me it was a tough process as well. I took it 4 times. I planned to apply for first round, but then because of GMAT I couldn't, so I applied for the second round. So I mean, it's not easy for everyone, and if you're asking people about it, sometimes they don't tell you the truth. So don't trust when people say, I took it once and it was very easy. No, it's not easy. I mean, for some people it is, I'm sure. But there are a lot of people that they don't tell the real truth about the process. For me, it was not easy. It was a painful process, but it's something that you will pass through, and then you will forget it. Like for me, it's something that I had to do, but now I don't remember it at all. I just remember the MBA experience. So don't worry, you'll get through it.
Pedro, Rafael, any tips on a GMAT?
Yeah, just focus. I remember that I started studying, it was October or November, and that's summer in Brazil, and it's a tough time to focus because, it's summer, the weather is good, your friends are calling you for a happy hour and whatever, and that's not definitely a good time to study for GMAT. So I just was able to sit down and study hard after Carnival. As you might know, here in Brazil, it's a big thing. So that's my tip. So whenever you start studying to GMAT, make a good plan, focus, and that's it. Because you have to be sharp. You have to be precise. It's really, really tough test. So focus. Don't try to do a lot of things at the same time. This is the time for GMAT. Go study and get the grade. So that would be my tip. Focus.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a secret to it. Like, it's a matter of practice. I had to take it twice as well, and did several simulations before to make sure that I had a good enough score to actually take the test and not waste my time and money. But my strategy was, I tried to be a bit more focused on the kind of things I was studying. Opposite to many people who are in consulting, I was struggling with the math part more than the language part. And so I focused there, and I focused on the kind of questions that I always got wrong somehow. So I tried to make sure that my weaknesses were not impeding me of having a decent score. And that's how I manage my time and approach GMAT. But it's a tough test, and I think it's painful for everyone. So don't worry if you're struggling.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit like working out. You have to work out every week. If you skip a week, then it's harder when you return. So you have to keep practicing. And the GMAT or the GRE, really, it's a game. It's more a game than a test. The more you get right, the harder they get. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I would say practice. That's what makes a high score. All right, shall we take one more question or?
Sure. I think this one is a big one, very hot topic right now. Hopefully everyone and their families are navigating this pandemic safely.
Yeah.
So Maria, I think you would be the resident expert on this topic since you're at INSEAD.
Yeah, this is a question I have lots of experience answering because every candidate that I speak with is worried about this question, which of course it's in the minds of everybody. We're all living it. What I can tell you is that INSEAD is really very flexible and has accommodated with deadlines on the GMAT or the GRE, with deadlines on your English tests, with deadlines on the financial fees. So we've been trying to accommodate all of that because we realize people in different corners of the world are having a tough time even with the online taking tests. The GMAT, for example, until last week, you could only do it once, which made it very nervous wreck for people who were trying, just have one shot at it. So we've been very flexible with the deadlines and will continue so until the situation improves. On campus, if you're curious to see what's happening. So as I mentioned during the presentation, the campus is currently open. We have a class, the MIN program, which is a new program we started. There are about 98 students that are in Fontainebleau for that program. It's very strict. Everyone is wearing a mask in classroom and outside of the classroom. Everyone is getting a test every week. If you have the COVID-19, if you test positive, you can't come in. When you enter the classroom, we have a little computer to take your temperature, to sanitize your hands. The cohorts or the sections are smaller just to make sure that we have enough distance for everyone. We encourage you in Singapore and in Abu Dhabi, it's mandatory for you to have the app that tracks where you are. In France, it's not, but we are highly recommending that everyone has the app as well. So lots of restrictions, limited staff, only faculty, career development, student life, people who have face-to-face interaction with students are on campus. The admissions team, my team, we're going to continue working from home right now until the end of the year. Of course, as soon as the situation improves, we'll lift some of the restrictions, but we felt it was important to have in-person classes. We had sent a survey to the September intake 2020, which will arrive on campus this year a little later on September 28. And out of the group, which is almost 500, I think this year there are 499, only one person said they would be okay taking online classes the whole time. So that meant that we had to create an environment where it was safe for individuals to come to campus and have in-person classes. So what that means is some days, some students will be in the classroom with a professor, and then some days they will be taking the class remote, whether that's from their home or from the library or another area in the campus. But we felt it was important to have horizontal learning. I think having Zoom classes is great for content, but not so great for learning. And learning comes from each other. And I think our class was very adamant about that. And So we had to create this summer very quickly an environment where this was a possibility and where everyone was safe.
Awesome. I think we're just passing the 1 hour mark, and so we want to let everyone get back to their Saturday. But so we just wanted to take 2 more quick questions, Maria, and I think these are pretty straightforward, especially for those international students, which will be a lot of people if we're talking into that. So what is a competitive TOEFL score to enter the program?
I think our minimum requirement's 105 or 106. So there is under the admissions tab, you can check the requirements in terms of the GMAT or the GRE, and then the language proficiency exams. And then there is also a language policy that's on the admissions tab, if you're kind of wondering. So the language of instruction is English, and then you need to have a second language at a practical level, which, you know, in your case will be your native language, and then English, and then a third language at a basic level to graduate, which you don't need to worry about until you are in the program.
Awesome. Awesome. And we're going to take one more question, super important. I think we definitely have to tackle this one. So if you could just let us know.
So this is a true INSEAD experience, because I don't know, someone received this webinar link and they shared in our section group. Now there are a couple of friends here. Hi Prakash, miss you guy. He was one of my best friends at INSEAD. So that's it. That's INSEAD.
So Prakash is an alum. We want to see your face.
Yeah.
Please turn the camera on. We want to say hi. We want to say Happy Global INSEAD Day.
Yeah. So you should all follow his podcast. As myself, he's in a break between INSEAD and a full-time job, and he started his own podcast to motivate students in India to pursue their dreams. So
What is it? What is it called?
Really nice podcast. Let me get the name. It's really nice, and he's interviewing our friends. So we're sharing our story, like we are colleagues, a history throughout the podcast. It's a really nice idea. 1 second, podcast.
That's awesome. We're going to have to put that here in the chat for others to follow.
It's here. Back to school with PC.
Oh,
Back
great.
to school with PC, like PC, like
Prakash Chandra with PC.
With a C, like Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. So he's interviewing some of our colleagues, and it's really inspiring because we have beautiful stories in INSEAD, like friends who are photographers, wildlife photographers, who have friends who are Ironman, and those people have a lot to say and a lot to share with you. And I mean, that's all INSEAD is about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think we're well past the hour mark. I would just like to say thank you to Maria, Pedro, Julia, Rafa, for coming on board. I think a lot of how we connect with students and young professionals early on is how we can bring in great diverse talent. So as I mentioned when we started this webinar, I wish I knew someone or someone had told me about INSEAD 10 years ago. I just didn't have the information. So the idea is that we can kind of share this information and really tap into a lot of talent that doesn't have the access or doesn't have the network to really find out about great programs like INSEAD. So thank you so much for coming on. And maybe we can do this in Portuguese sometime soon. And definitely will be the weak link, but I'll do my best. Maybe I won't talk too much. But thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, I think everywhere. And please be safe. Please stay healthy. And hopefully some of you will wind up at INSEAD in the near future. That would be awesome. And if you do, please say that you you participated in this webinar, and that may be one of the reasons why. But thank you all so much. If you all have any parting words, Julia, Pedro, Rafa, Maria, if you'd like to say anything to anyone, the floor is also yours.
It was a pleasure. I hope we can do this again. Please stay in touch. If you logged in today, I think we'll get your list. So you'll get a follow-up email from me. And then if you have questions about your profile, or you have questions about the application, we can always do a one-to-one, whether on Zoom or WhatsApp, whatever the application that you have. We can do that in the near future. But I wish you all the best. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Contact us if you have any more further questions as well. We are all here.
Yeah, feel free to connect to us on LinkedIn or in whatever other media, and we'll be happy to take more questions and share more about our experience.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Please hit the like button, hit the share button, and we'll be back here soon to bring you more experiences from other great MBA programs. And so thank you all so much. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.